Hello, and welcome to Rethinking Our History, where we seek to shed a light on events that have been forgotten and covered up, and to make us all question how much do we really know about our history? I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ian, and we are here to reveal all the sordid details of history that have been swept under the rug. Get ready to get angry, be curious, and maybe have a laugh or two as we rethink our history.
Hello, friends.
Well, hello.
Oh my, he's on one today, folks. Just so you know, he is on one today. He's rested. That's what a well rested Ian looks like.
Either that or like super tired, like the tired point where you're like kind of
Loopy.
loopy.
I've been getting there like every night
I
this
think
week.
that's what I
so
am.
That's what spring break does to you.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us for another lesson, number 28. This week we're going to move kind of away from the anti-government rhetoric a little bit and look at another case of what happens when we do not regulate corporations.
Yeah, that sucks.
But first, the business. If you found us here first and are a fan of the paranormal, give our show, The Paranormal Lovers, a listen. Over 100 episodes about everything from the water spirits of North Carolina to our very own Nance Dude. And if you don't know who Nance Dude is,
Tough old broad.
go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah.
I thought one thing
It's scarring.
before the episode. I knew the legend. I thought one. It is scarring. It's very traumatizing. Thought one thing before I heard it. Now I think another thing.
Yeah,
So,
it'll give you a different opinion of Appalachian folk.
hardy fucking folks.
For sure.
If you would please be so kind, give us a follow and share on social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We also have videos of both shows on YouTube. To find us on any of these platforms, just search for The Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. If you would like to support the making of these shows, we have a couple of ways to do so. First, we have our merch shop over at theparanormallovers.threadless.com with some new designs put up this week. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/paranormal lovers, where for $5 a month you get early access to unedited videos of both shows as well as stickers and other swag. Finally, if you have any personal stories, be it true crime, paranormal, or historical, or have a topic request, email us at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com. All right. So, way back when we started this little thing, episode 6, we talked about the radium girls.
Yeah.
Those were women and girls who were watchmakers who, through lies and deception, would end up sick and dying from radium exposure. But roughly 4 decades before these women were exposed to dangerous and unsafe work conditions, another group of women workers had to fight for their very lives. In the 19th centuries, matches were the go-to to start a fire. Camping fire, fireplace, candle, whatever you needed to light, you did so with matches. The most common matches were made out of poplar or Canadian pine. At the factory, they would take sticks made out of this wood twice as long as the finished match, put about 4,000 of these sticks in a frame. These sticks were then dipped on both ends with sulfur and then into a mixture of, quote, white phosphorus, potassium chlorate, I don't think that's the right word, antimony sulfide, powdered glass, and coloring, end quote. The amount of white phosphorus varied from company to company, somewhere between 6 and 10%. The matches were then dried in an oven, cut in half to make single matchsticks, and then packaged for shipment. Workers could make, on average, 10 million matchsticks in a 10-hour shift. That's 1 million matchsticks an hour.
That's crazy.
That's insane. Men were usually the ones who dipped the sticks, while women usually did the rest of the process. Oh, she let you in. She listened, thank goodness. With sulfur being used in the matches, they were sometimes called lucifers, although were more commonly called congreves. Lucifer matches could be used on any rough surface. In the 1840s, red phosphorus was discovered, which was a safer alternative to its white counterpart. Shocker. This would allow them to remove the white phosphorus altogether. They simply added a strip of red phosphorus to the box. Now, keep in mind, red phosphorus was founded in the 1840s, but it would take a lot longer before white phosphorus was completely phased out of matchmaking. Because,
Yeah, because people still want the strike anywhere matches.
well, money, too.
Yeah.
You know. In 1897, there were over 4,000 people working in 25 matchmaking factories in Britain. A little over 2,500 of them were over the age of 18. Around 1,500 were aged 14 to 18, and 2 were younger than 14.
Jeez.
Now, 57 years after the discovery of a safer alternative, 23 out of these 25 factories were still using white phosphorus. As with the radium girls, people who worked with the white phosphorus were known to get phossy jaw, also known as phosphorus necrosis of the jaw.
Mm.
This was caused by inhaling the white phosphorus, especially when it's heated. Initial symptoms include toothaches and flu-like symptoms, but then just like with the radium girls, their teeth would start to fall out, abscesses would open in their mouths, and before long they were dealing with necrosis of the jaw.
Jeez.
Lots of people just having their fucking jaws rot away, man.
That's crazy.
Oh, fun fact, I didn't actually put this in the notes. Modern science has brought phossy jaw back. There's a certain, and I don't remember, I can maybe look it up. I think it's somewhere in the notes about phossy jaw, but there's like a certain medication, like a type of medication that is causing phosphorus poisoning in people. And we have resumed. Sorry, I had to run out, had to let the dog out real quick. In 1843, Bryant and May opened up to, quote, trade in general merchandise, end quote. The owners were William Bryant and Francis May, 2 men who were part of the Quaker community. In 1850, they went into business with Swedish matchmaker Johann Edvard Lundström. Johann.
Don't mess with the Johann.
Not Johann Edvard, because it's literally spelled with a V, Edvard. The men were hoping to get a piece of the matchmaking pie, as 250 million matches were being used every day in Britain. That first year, the company sold 231,000 boxes of matches. In 5 years, they sold 10.8 million boxes. And in 1860, they sold 27.9 million boxes.
Jeez.
These numbers make me think of Shark Tank and how Mr. Wonderful would like wet his pants at these numbers. In 1861, Bryant moved the company to a 3-acre plot in Bow, East London. In 1880, the company went international and began to export their product. And in 1884, the company went public. During this time, the company had around 5,000 employees, many of them women, and many of them Irish or of Irish descent. In 1895, the number was roughly 2,000, with roughly 1,400 of these being women. Now, why does it matter that many of these people were Irish? Well, because the British will fuck anyone over they can, even other white people. The Irish, with their fiery red hair, penchants for drinking, and rowdy personalities, were also seen as less than by the British. Still a human, 5/5 of a human and all that, but lower status than that of British. With these mentalities, it is no surprise that they were more than likely forced to work in sweatshops, which were not protected by any laws. When people were turned away from jobs with better working conditions and pay, they were first forced to go where the work was, and it was usually these shops. Pay depended on what the workers did, but it only averaged 3 pennies to 2 shillings per whatever set amount they wanted. For example, frame fillers would make 1 shilling per 100 frames completed, while packers made 1 shilling 9 penny for each 100 boxes wrapped up. Those under the age of 14 got around 4 shillings per week. And I'm not a good money person, but I think we can all agree shillings not a lot. I don't know a
It's like
lot
a
about.
dollar, right?
I feel like the pound's more comparable to a dollar, but I could be wrong on that.
So what's a shilling? I think that's the old money
I
that
don't
they used to
know.
have.
Let's look it up real quick. A
It's
shilling.
like now you have a pound and a pence. Back then you had a shilling and
A
a
coin formerly used in the United Kingdom worth 1/12 of a pound.
so
Okay,
about 1/12 of a dollar.
something
Their
like that.
dollar.
So about like a dime or a nickel, somewhere in between a dime and a nickel.
Yeah.
Um, not a lot.
No.
Not a lot. But they were lucky if they got to take home that much each week. They were charged for the glue, brushes, and string they needed for their jobs, and even had to pay the boys who brought them frames.
Mm.
They would also be fined for ridiculous things like 3 pennies for having dirty feet, although they simply could not afford to buy shoes. They would be fined for being late or even having a burnt match on their workbench. One girl who dropped a tray of matches was fined 6 pennies.
Jeez.
As for the employees that got Fossy Jaw, well, that simply was not their problem. If
Mm.
anyone complained of a toothache, they were ordered to have their tooth removed or they would be fired.
This is why we have protection boards, people.
Yeah. But as someone who comes from a large Scotch Irish family, one thing I know for a fact is that they are an outspoken people about the things they care about. During the 1870s and the 80s, these workers were quite involved in political activism. In April of 71, someone attempted to introduce a tax on matches, but it was strongly opposed by the workers. Around 10,000 matchmakers marched their way to the House of Parliament to present a petition. On their way, they were harassed by the local police, who even attempted to block their path. I did say attempt because what are these coppers think they're going to do against 10,000 pissed off people? Like,
They don't know factory workers.
fucking 10,000 pissed off, mostly Irish people? Get the fuck out the way. I tell you what, anytime a redhead comes in my store, especially a redheaded child, I'm like, oh, that's trouble right there. It's trouble. And I got a couple of redheads that come in the store and I love them so much. And I'm just like, hmm, all right. After Queen Victoria sent a letter to the Prime Minister protesting the tax, it was withdrawn. The matchmakers would strike again in 1881, 85, and 86 over wages and the fine system. All of these,
The
huh?
matchmakers struck again. Dad jokes.
That is funny. All of these strikes were unsuccessful, but in July of 1888, their biggest and strongest strike would take place. Although some historians have said they believe these workers were more concerned with money than their safety, that is far from the truth. On June 23rd, 1888, social activist Annie Besant and her friend Herbert Burroughs published an article in her weekly paper, The Link. Their article, titled White Slavery in London, angered management at Bryant and May, who attempted to get the employees to sign a paper contradicting the article.
Hmm.
They refused, which angered management more, and they would end up firing a worker. All I could think of is where you work and how they have like an NDA and how pissed off they would be if somebody went and talked to the media.
Yeah.
Because like where our husband worked, this is why we try not to say the name of his job because we both signed an NDA when we worked there
Yeah.
that we're not allowed to talk about them to media. So
Trade secrets.
are
Trade
we now
secrets.
media?
Kinda, yeah. We're independent media. Wee.
Yeah. By the end of that day, July 2nd, 1,400 women and girls had stopped working. Management offered to bring the worker back, but then the women asked for more. A small group of women met with management but were not happy with what was said. By July 6th, the whole factory was on strike.
That's
That's
how you do it.
that's how you fucking do
That's
it.
how you fucking do it.
That day, 100 of the women went to see Ann Bessett and asked for her help. Although she is often credited with starting the strike, she states that she had no idea it was happening until the women came to talk to her. But once she was involved, she was in it. She went with them to meetings with management, and by July 16th, they had come to an agreement. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's all it took. That's all it took, folks. 2 weeks.
Sometimes them big places forget
Who actually holds the power?
who runs the place.
The fines for random things were abolished, as was the practice of charging workers for their materials. Could you imagine if your job charged people for their fucking materials?
Oh my
For
god.
all the tools and shit they needed to do their jobs?
Yeah, people would be mad.
Oh my god. Although I don't know, it might fucking help people keep their shit.
Yeah,
Keep up with their
I will
shit.
keep up with it.
I was one of I don't understand how the fuck people lost their shit. Mm-mm.
Right.
They also made it so workers could go straight to management with their problems instead of having to go to the foreman first. This was due to the fact the foreman would ignore some problems and not take them to management. Most importantly, however, was the creation of a work lunchroom of sorts. Not only were the workers subjected to working with dangerous white phosphorus, they were also forced to eat their lunches at their workbenches.
Shoo.
After the strike, they were allowed to leave the room and go to a separate space where white phosphorus would not contaminate their food. After these terms were accepted, the strike ended. After the strike, the Union of Women Matchmakers was formed, at the time making it the largest union of women and girls in the country. This organization would later be renamed the Matchmakers Union. So this was interesting to learn. Not only were people working in these factories with deplorable conditions, but some of the workers were what they called home workers, forced to dip matches in white phosphorus at home.
Jeez.
As you can imagine, kids like to put things in their mouth, and this led to the death of several children.
I'm sure.
To combat this, in 1891, the Salvation Army opened their own factory in the Bow District. They paid much better and used the less toxic red phosphorus. Bright and May struggled to clean up their image after the scandal. In 1850, they had started importing safety matches from Lundstrom, the Swede. By 1855, the sale of these safer matches had increased so much that Lundstrom could no longer make enough to keep up with the demand. So Bryant and May bought the British patent to the matches and, with Lundstrom's help, built a safety match factory in Bow. But red phosphorus was much more expensive than the white. Both Bryant and May and the Salvation Army struggled at first. For Bryant and May, their solution was to use child labor
Mm,
because, pay them 4 shillings a week versus a shilling a rack or something.
right.
The Salvation Army had a large fan base that refused to use the white matches, and they were able to automate much of the process. But even with those things in place, the Salvation Army factory had to be closed and was taken over by Bryant and May in 1901. In 1906, the UK passed the Berne Convention Treaty, which prohibited the use of white phosphorus. This was finally put into effect on January 1st, 1911, so 71 years after red phosphorus was discovered,
Wow.
and enforced with a fine that was so high it made it senseless to circumvent that law. So, what do you think about the match girls strike, Bill?
That's crazy. Like a lot of uh a lot of factories get problems like that.
Yeah, they do.
Like
Well, your job isn't immune to that kind of shit. Like,
no, it's not.
there are certain processes that you're required to do at that job, and in those processes, they are supposed to evacuate the building before that process is done
Yeah.
because of the chemical reaction that's going to happen when you do said process inside of a building,
Well, also
and they don't, and they do it multiple times a day, and it's like,
popcorn lung.
what's this doing in here, folks? What's this doing to us? I can't tell you. Like, maybe twice, I think we were evacuated out for noxious fumes. coming from one of the presses.
Yeah.
And that was like mustard gas. So they were like, all right, you got to get out.
Yeah.
But all the other times they purge shit out and it just burns and there's just smoke and you smelling it. And they're just like, not supposed to be in there. Nobody's supposed to be in there when they do that. Maybe y'all need to strike. So what I said, I don't work there anymore.
Right.
Y'all don't want to fire him. He's too important.
This is true.
All right, friends. Well, we hope you enjoyed this week, and let's hope we don't go back to these kind of working conditions.
Yeah. Please, keep the agency that Trump's kind of trying to get rid of, because they protect people in that exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Better Business Bureau?
Them and OSHA and probably OSHA more than anybody.
They're trying to get rid of all that.
Occupational Safety Hazard Administration.
That doesn't do anything but protect people. So wake up, you guys.
In every realm possible, they're trying to strip protections for people. But that, folks, is for a different episode. Not this one. Just know I won't be going anywhere that I could get fussy jaw.
Right.
Not for me. All right, guys. We hope you guys have a good week, and we will see y'all next week.
See you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.